In the symphony of shadows, there lies a place where the mysterious takes center stage. Join us as we unravel tales that blur the line between the mainstream and the macabre. This is the Trick or Trio. With tonight's special guest, Josh Petrino.
All the way from 10 minutes from my house, we have Joshua. How's it going, Josh?
Hey, it's going all right.
He's like, nobody's called me Joshua since I got in trouble. For not taking out the trash in the 9th grade.
I'm just starting to have like trauma tremors. I'm like,
Josh, there we go.
Yeah.
So how's it going? Welcome back to the podcast because like we were talking about before, we recorded an episode with him and then the audio for some reason
was like
recording or something like that.
It was like my favorite episode that we ever recorded too. I felt like it just was like so smooth and it just got tossed in the garbage.
I remember it being very funny. I don't remember why, but I remember us laughing very hard at a few things. And I do a decent amount of podcasts. And I was like, man, I can't wait for this one to come out. And little did I know that I'm haunted and your podcast just so I messed it up now. I know it had something to do with just my general just being here.
I think that we did kind of go off on a tangent about like made up movies. I remember we were talking about
my gosh, the Muppets,
the Sharknadoes of the world, and it was Muppets.
Centipede Muppet.
Human Centipede Muppets.
The sewing would be like very easy to do. Something like that.
It's R-rated. There's stuffing going everywhere, spraying against the camera, just cotton.
Yeah.
So Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a VFX artist, and I try to focus on horror movies, which is weird for a VFX artist. I'm trying to make it my niche. I grew up loving movies. I grew up interested in special effects and visual effects, and I kind of just got into it, and there I am. I mean, that's it. Like you said, I'm just a guy a couple miles away from you.
On a podcast with these two goofballs.
Yes.
So you said that you were trying to make horror your niche, and that's rare for special effects artists, because I would think that would be
visual effects artists. So special effects artists, no, I mean special effects makeup artists specifically. So there's different tiers, and what I like to do, I like to like let people know, like everyone nowadays, if you said visual effects 20 years ago, people kind of understood it a little bit better and knew what it meant. Nowadays, people just confuse it with CGI. And really, CGI is just a tool in the visual effects toolbox. So you have special effects makeup, animatronics, all that stuff, and CGI are all tools that visual effects artists can use. So Star Wars in 74 when they were making it, used visual effects. They were all practical elements, but to combine them and to make it work on screen is visual effects. And that's what visual effects is. So Terrifier, for instance, Terrifier 2, everyone's like, yeah, it's 100% practical effects. And it's like, well, no, it's 100% practical elements for the kills and stuff like that. But every kill, for the most part, most kills, I'll say most, I don't think every single kill, but a lot of the important kills were done using visual effects. We use practical elements, combine them. So we'll take like half of a girl's face and put it on a dummy, and then erase the puppeteering rods and the blood tubes on the dummy. But the overall effect is a visual effect. If it was 100% practical, we would have to hide the blood tubes. We'd have to hide the puppet rods. And it would look like
you'd have to bash open somebody's real face.
Yes, bash open someone's real face. No, but it would have the dummy's face on there, and we're not. For it to hold up under scrutiny, especially with today's audience, and especially with like just the equipment we have. You know, I prefer in horror using a real actor's face or real elements that can hold up in the under the scrutiny of lighting, under the scrutiny of the cameras, how sharp the camera can capture the image, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot of people confuse visual effects with CG. There's no CG in the kills in Terrifier. They're all practical elements, but it's not practical effect. It's all visual effects for the most part.
Gotcha.
Not all the kills, but
I do have a question because I'm just super ignorant when it comes to all different types of effects used in film. But when you say delete the puppeteers and stuff, do you have to have like a still of that shot and kind of overlap them and then remove them? How do you like make something appear that isn't there?
so that's called a background plate. And in a perfect world, you either have a 3D scan of it, which is like awesome, and that's becoming more popular nowadays, or you have, like you said, like an empty frame that doesn't have anything in it. That's just going to give you that background. So when you erase it, you have something to fill that hole that you just
Right.
erased.
Right.
However, a lot of times, more often than not, sorry to say, there's not a visual effects person on set to tell them
That
in
you
the
need
indie
that.
world. In the pro world, like 100% you have that guy. But like
Right.
in the indie world, more often than not, I'm given something and I'm like, did you guys get a background plate? And they're like, what's a background plate? It's like, okay. So I have to make this up from scratch and kind of just eye it up and figure out like, okay, I mean, there's like in Photoshop, there's clone tools, and there's clone tools in software like After Effects, or, you know, you can kind of anticipate what would be behind it. One of the hardest shots I ever did was one of the first shots I ever did for a movie called Hatchet. If there's any Adam Green horror fans out there, Hatchet 3 had someone. It was Danielle Harris from the Halloween series, and the character Victor Crowley, who's like the killer in Hatchet, has her held up like this, like by the shoulders, and she has this huge wire harness, and there's these wires coming up the top. So it was, hey, paint out the wires. Okay, cool. Where's the plate? There is none. Problem with that is it was in I think they actually filmed on location in New Orleans in the swamp. And it just looks like essentially jungle forest ish behind her. And there's just like leaves blowing around. And I'm like, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, it's just a
Right.
wire. And then like I'm going through frame by frame and I see, okay, well, if it was just a wire, it would be like, where's my camera? Like this thick. So normally a wire would be like this, like that thick, like a couple inches thick, and I could just like figure it out, paint it out, maybe take some pixels on this side and so on this side, and like sandwich them together to figure out what was behind it. But the wire wasn't taut, so it was like rubber banding. So and it created this big motion blur. Like, see how my hand's going? So
Yeah.
I had to paint out like this much space of forest that's moving around, and it was really like it should have been an impossible shot. It should have been something that you say, hey guys, you gotta go, you need to figure this out. You need to either get a plate for this or you have to go reshoot this or whatever, which would happen on the professional level. At this level, it was just like, well, figure it out, dude. So there's stuff like
You
that.
figured it out.
Yeah, that's kind of how background plates work. I'm sure people are like just loving this non-visual.
No, dude, I'm telling you, we went from a Centipede Muppets directly into how visual effects works on movies.
Yeah.
That's how this podcast rolls. I mean, like, come on.
Right.
But I mean, visual effects it's all problem solving. It's just taking, figuring out whatever elements you need to make someone's vision come to life, and you see it in movies, not just horror. You see it in all kinds of movies, whether it's CG, whether it's awesome special effects, or like the Ed, the like RoboCop, the Ed 209. Like
Stop motion.
claymation, stop motion. It's all over the place. It's been in cinema for a long time. Even from Earth to the Moon, the old the old French film that's just wood paintings, like wood painted sets and stuff. I mean, visual effects have been in film for a very, very long time. and people think they hate it, but they really just hate bad CG. Also,
Right,
and,
right.
with an emphasis on the bad, because if it's good, you don't even notice. So,
Right. Yeah. So first, I want to just mention that you had. I just recently told my wife that you had named out one of my childhood crushes. I guess that was in Hatchet 3. And was that a film that sometimes you were on set or you were never on set for?
No, I wasn't on set for that. I honestly I haven't been on set too much recently. When I lived in LA, I was on set a bunch. And then I decided to move back home and just work mostly as an artist remotely. But I realized a lot of the films I'm getting hired for, it's like, hey, can you fix this? It's like, hey, we forgot to hire somebody, or we didn't have the budget to hire somebody. Can you?
Or the guy we did hire sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. And so it's just like, what can you do to fix this or make this work, or et cetera, et cetera. So, I try to, once people know me and I tell them, like, listen, guys, it'll be cheaper and easier for you and me for me to be out there or on set, now that I've been able to kind of establish myself and provide provide them with the comfort of, I'm not going to drain your budget by being there physically.
Right.
I'm actually going to save you money. I'm being brought out more and more.
How did you first get into doing effects, and how did that transition into you getting jobs doing effects? Because I'm sure a lot of folks are interested in how to do that.
So it kind of happened all at once, and it's I think there's these like primordial filmmaker questions that everyone wants to know the answers to, and
Right.
until you get into it, you don't realize that there is no right answer, and that sucks. It sucks to hear, but like, how do you get financing? How did you get so and so on your movie? How do you get this It all seems like a big catch-22. Well, it is. My personal path with this was, I had grown up, like I said, obsessed over film. I loved watching behind the scenes and the featurettes and everything. When HBO used to have a behind the scenes hour special, like a month before a movie came out, or Nova would have like here's how they made the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Like, I was
Right.
obsessed with all of that, and especially like special effects artists, like Stan Winston and Tom Savini, and all these, like, I just loved all of it. I loved filmmaking on that level. And so I wanted to make a movie at one point, and I got into it, and I was like, well, I think we need some, I guess, visual effects for this. How much does that cost? And
Right.
I approached some people, and there was no indie level visual effects artist really. And I called up and I'm like, hi, I want to make a movie with some friends in my backyard. And I'm like, how much is this going to cost? And they're like, everything you own. And I was like, okay, let me figure out a way to do this myself. And so I used online tutorials. There's a website called videocopilot.net that's like probably the genesis for all indie visual effects artists from way back in the day. I'm talking like early 2000s. I found out what software I needed, and I torrented it, and I just started
You mean
trying.
you purchased it?
Yeah.
No, everyone who's anyone in visual effects definitely stole their first software, because it was like $10,000, and you're talking about like an 18-year-old kid that's like, like, do I spend $10,000 on this, or
Right,
do
right.
I
Or do I get it for free?
pirate bet? But now I pay for everything, so it's kind of a rite of
Sure.
passage to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
To be able to
It's
afford
not.
to
It's
pay for this
totally not like somebody in New Jersey to take something for free.
Yeah,
Sure that you purchase everything.
I felt not even a little bit bad, honestly. But Adobe has enough money.
Right.
But make it they eventually made it accessible with Creative Cloud, which is great if you love software that crashes on you and like throws away 6 hours worth of work. It's awesome. But so I did this effect. I was like, was trying to figure out how I could smash someone's head with a baseball bat and have it look real. And I wasn't about to make a dummy because I couldn't really afford to make a dummy and afford the materials because not that stuff's super expensive, but it adds up. And I'm impatient. So doing a mold and doing like a foam latex thing, and like I didn't have the patience. I was like, I bet you, if I use the old trauma method of filling a melon, not even a watermelon, filling a melon with blood, if I just put a wig on this and put it down in the same position that I have my friend lay, and I have my friend react to it, and then like twitch and stuff like that, and I just smash this melon, I can cut
like right where.
Well, not even an edit. What I wanted was someone standing in frame with a baseball bat, like a wide shot, smashing someone's head in a wide, because I feel like the wide you don't expect. You expect the cut in, you expect the, and so I was like, I was thinking I could probably cut that person out somehow that's holding the bat, and I could have them bash this melon, and then I could form the real guy's face who's being smashed around two pieces of the melon, and then at some point it's going to explode to the point where it's unrecognizable, so I can probably hide the edit cut in there.
Right.
And so I did, and I spent hours doing it, and I learned it was all trial and error and going frame by frame and just painting everything out in the background because I didn't use a green screen, and it was just meticulously moving things around so that it looked like this guy's face was just opening up with the melon. And it's quick. It's like a blink of an eye. I probably could have just done the smash cut edit, but I wanted to explore how hard this really is, and is it worth selling a house to have effects. My parents' house, that wasn't mine. But I mean, like, that's how much I was quoted. It was like literally like tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So I did this effect, and at the time I was going around and I was filming different horror conventions for the convention people, like for to make ads or to use for for the future. And I was at Horror Hound weekend in Indianapolis, and Steve Johnson was there, and Steve Johnson worked on Ghostbusters and just a ton of, he's an effects god. And so I had this shot, and Tyler, you were probably a seedling. You were probably like in I mean, you are an infant now, but you were probably like not even a glimmer in your father's eye. I had this on a PSP, the PlayStation Portable. I'd put this video on there because
wait, and Tyler, just so you understand, the screen of a PSP is like, I feel it's like 3 inches by 4 inches. It's tiny.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Tiny.
I want to see it.
Actually, you know what? I might have one here.
It's not like you're opening up a laptop or anything.
Yeah.
You know?
It's well, I feel like the PSP wasn't that tiny though. It's not like a game.
Okay, I see it.
Or it's, but it was, it's probably like 3 by 4 inches or something like that. Or well, it's 16 by 9 aspect ratio, so it would have to be different. But it's like 4 by 6 or it's small. The point is, it's tiny. And so I show him on this PSP, and he was like, "How'd you do this?" And I was like, oh, "Yes, that's from an FX guru. That's what you want to hear. Is how you
Oh yeah."
This. And I was like, "Well, I just kind of did the visual." And he was like, "No, seriously, how'd you do?" And then he's like, "Rob, come here." And he calls this guy Rob Hall over, and Rob looks at it, and Rob's like, "Cool. Did you use practical and After Effects or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he was like, "Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Yes, but I don't think it's a good idea because I don't know what I'm doing." He's like, "Listen,"
so real quick, who was for those who don't know, who is Rob?
So I'm gonna get to that. So
okay.
I didn't really know who Rob was.
Okay.
So, but I knew he was signing at the convention, and then I'm like, yeah, I guess that'd be cool, but like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, full disclosure, I did this for me in my backyard using a melon and a friend and a wig. So I don't know the formality of like I might not be doing this right. And he's like, listen, he's like, everyone has to cut their teeth. He's like on something. He's like, I can guide you through it. And he's like, I'll call you in a couple weeks. And it turns out Rob made a movie that I liked called Laid to Rest. And and it's an awesome indie horror slasher with some of the best gore you'll ever see. It's just great. It's a great movie.
Like gore.
And Rob worked on movie or TV shows like Buffy and Angel and tons of movies, like tons of really solid horror movies. And Rob is a special effects like wizard, like one of the most unsung heroes of special effects makeup. And so I wasn't expecting a call, and then I get one, and he's like, "Yeah, we have these 4 shots, and we need it in like 2 weeks." And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but all right, sure." And so I'm like Googling how to do these, and it's just like the most painful trial by fire ever because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I am delivering things like in the wrong video codec or the wrong, like, but he's like, no, just export it like this. But I'm learning from him and I'm learning from YouTube. Um, and I got my shot on Laid to Rest too. And then that led to Adam Green did some posts that they needed help with like Hatchet, the Hatchet series, or no, at that point I think it was either Hatchet or Chillerama. I honestly can't remember. And I was like, I just worked on Laid to Rest. The guy's like, you're hired. I'm like, I kind of don't know what I'm doing. And so I worked
He's
on.
like, I don't care because you did. That.
Yeah. So I worked on Hatchet and Chillerama and these other movies, and it just kind of has been one job after another job after another job for, I mean, since then. I mean, you're talking like 14 years at least at this point. 15, I think. So it's I got into it with all, I think people hire not just based off skill. You definitely have to have some skill. You have to have drive and determination. You have to have clear communication skills. But I think I got hired off 50% of it had to be, and this isn't me like being like, I love myself, but off my personality, because I was someone that these people wanted to communicate with. I was someone that these people wanted to give a shot to and be around. I think that's a huge part of it. I'm seeing more and more of that. I have a friend who has an awesome YouTube channel that he works for called Corridor Digital, and they do these really cool VFX breakdowns and stuff. And he got his first job was like, I think like a Katy Perry video or something insane like that. And
his first job.
His first
That's
actual
crazy.
Professional job.
That's crazy.
How he got it was he was making his reel, and he was like, I don't have enough in here to make this, like, to really fill this out. And so he like intercut him dancing in front of a green screen with various backgrounds, which dancing can actually be kind of tough to key out. But he just did that, and it's him, and it just randomly cuts to that in his reel a bunch of times. And so they posted this job on Facebook, and someone tagged him in it. And he didn't. I mean, there's like major VFX companies also being tagged in this,
Right.
and they reached out to him, and then he eventually got the job. And even though he didn't have as much knowledge, very clearly didn't have as much knowledge as some of these other people that went for it. And
but they knew. I think that when they sense a personality trait that is positive, and they go, okay, this guy's gonna have fun doing it, and fun is like gasoline with creativity.
Yeah.
Right. It just causes your creativity to skyrocket.
You definitely have to have chops. Don't get me wrong. You can't just show up and suck. But if you can get the job done and people want to be around you for 10, 12 hours a day on a film set, then you have a better chance of being than getting the job than a person who is extremely skillful that no one wants to be around. And so he formulated his entire like his presence in his career off of that. He's like, even if I'm having an off day, I have to be on, because that's who I'm selling me. And I hear that more and more and more, that people like that are getting the jobs that they want, or taking the career paths that they want that seem very difficult to obtain, are doing that.
Right.
That
It's personality based.
Yeah, it's personality based. Well, it's skill
But
based
but
too. It
it's
just, you need that
yeah. I was gonna
extra
say it's
ingredient.
also. I feel like the personality with a certain skill causes a different flair than everybody else, right?
Yeah,
Like for instance, you showed something on a PSP that you made in your yard, but they saw talent out of that. But not only they see talent and gumption because you're approaching them, but to see raw talent and know, oh, if this guy has the right tools, right? That speaks volumes, man. That's I don't think enough people look at just living life like that. And you should.
yeah. I don't think enough people take the chance either.
Yeah.
It's crazy. A lot of people that I went to high school with. I mean, I grew up in the sticks, like the woods of New Jersey, if you could ever imagine a place. Um, and it just it's I've been able to kind of meet all my heroes, not even through VFX, but through other means, and work with people that I've admired and continue to do so, because I'm willing to take the chance, and I'm not like, I'm persistent. I'm not like creepy stalker persistent or anything like that, but you don't get what you don't ask for. And
Right.
if you have, if you're selling something that could be mutually beneficial, then people will usually entertain the idea or listen to you. A lot of people won't, but it doesn't mean you don't try. And I think there's that saying, like what is it, like 99% or 1% of the people make it because they show up or whatever,
Oh yeah.
that's
But
100% true. I know so many talented people, so many brilliant people that are like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. We're going to make this movie. We're going to do this, this, and this. And they have everything. They get their ducks lined up, and they just don't pull the trigger. And it's like, dude,
right. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta step off the front porch sometimes, man.
yeah, all the
You
time.
know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, I mean, Tyler and I do. We do YouTube. We do haunted houses. We have a podcast. All these other little side projects, right? That we wouldn't be. For instance, we wouldn't be talking with you if we didn't step off the porch,
It's true.
right? Yeah, you have to do it. Anything that you really want to see, any level of accomplishment, you gotta take that step.
You got to be bold about yourself. Get out there.
Yeah.
Talk
yeah.
to
Well,
people. The more you're networking with people and just getting to know people, the farther you go.
yeah, yeah. Why not? Just take the road less
So,
traveled. Just put it. If someone says no, it's the same as not asking.
right.
that's that's once you realize that, then it's like, okay, this should be easy, and have something to offer, and don't be weird. Like
Yeah.
I see
I
some.
also look at it. I look at it like I almost look forward to those because that means, statistically speaking, yeses are going to come. So it's like, okay, get that no, that one's out of the way. Now I have 9 more no's until I get the break, or 12 more, or whatever. But you can count that down and go, statistically speaking, the yes is going to be coming soon.
Yeah. And you have to make it mutually beneficial. I think that's the biggest thing that people forget and skip over. I work at Smodcastle with Kevin Smith, on events and stuff, and I just worked with him on a film, and I can't tell you how many people I see there that raise a hand because he does these Q&As, and they're great. They're like 12 hours long because he doesn't know how to shut the fuck up, but he does these brilliant Q&As, and he'll answer every question like 6 times within one answer. But a lot of people are like, hey, I have a script. Can you read this right now? And they think Kevin's just gonna like, yes, let me build your career and give you millions of dollars. Like there's just a little bit of delusion.
Right. He's like,
Delusion
what's in
for
it for
grandeur.
me?
Well, I mean, he's not. He's like, honestly, I can't because of legal reasons and stuff like that. Or it's not something that really he can't help you. He's trying to help himself. Like he's still
Right.
selling Kevin Smith. That's one thing too. Getting to where and I'm not like anywhere, but like now I have an inside view. it never stops. You know, I mean, Martin Scorsese's trying to get movies made that he can't get someone to commit to. So there's never a rest area on the cliff of I want to make it in film. You have to stay relevant. You have to keep going, and you have to find the people who will continue to make films and continue to believe in you after you have some flops and stuff like that. And that's what I got that info from Kevin, where I'm like, holy crap, even he has trouble getting money to make movies. He's Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
He's the clerk,
Right.
you know? But yeah, it's just the way the world is. But I see people that are like, please read my script or give me a job, you know? And it's like, dude, you're asking them. They don't owe you anything, first of all.
Right.
And then you're going to ask them for hours of their time. Scripts can take hours to read. Hours out of their day, their already busy day, to take a gamble on you, who they have no idea who you are, and read your script because they think, no, you gotta, if you're gonna approach it the right way to do it. Oh my god, warp speed, bro. What the hell is that? It tripped me out. Between that and my cat jumping in here, I just saw it like I saw her like in the camera, and I was like, I actually got scared for a second, but I tried not to show it.
It was like the same time.
Yeah,
he's got a camera that follows his face and could zoom out and stuff like that. It's fancy. Look at that.
Oh, I had that, and then it like focused in. I think it thought some of my dimples and beard were like a face at one point.
It's just zoomed in right here.
Zoom in on them, like, yeah, thanks. Thanks for making me feel terrible,
Yeah.
camera.
Dude, sometimes we'll sit here and it would like focus on this guy instead.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I'm over here.
it's like
So-
when it thinks that's a real face as opposed to my face. Is there an issue? So I would say
Sorry about that.
no, it's hilarious. I love it. So I would say the biggest piece of advice is like, yes, people who have established careers can and will often help you. And that is a great way to learn. That's a great way to get in the industry. And it doesn't hurt to ask, because a lot of people will, like you said, admire the gumption, admire the tenacity. However, you have to have something to give them first. If you go and ask them, hey, read a script, or hey, hire me on this VFX project, or etc., then you're looking for money, you're looking for their time, you want something. What you want is a little too direct. If you go up to someone and say, hey, I love what you do, I would love to really just ask you a couple questions about film career, or I would love to pick your brain about where do you learn things for screenwriting? Are you Googling anyone? Are you reading anything? Are you listening to any particular music that helps you? Hey, do you need a PA on a film set? Or I would love to join your VFX team, or just look over their shoulder. Or I can do VFX really well. I would love to give you some samples I'll just work on your film for free. You know, when you're starting out, you kind of have to do that and say, like, I will do this for free. I mean, like, I wasn't getting paid for the stuff when I first started VFX. No one was paying me. Why would they? I didn't know what I was doing. They had to babysit me, you know?
Right.
But I got the education that way. And then the next time, then I start getting paid. And then you start learning what your value is. And then you have to be valuable, and you have to make yourself valuable to these people. But if you do that, then people will let you in. And that's what I've learned. So basically, you know, just have something to offer, and don't be a dick. It's my advice. Be nice, be someone that people want to be around, and have something to give them first before you ask for something. Because eventually what will happen, if you work hard enough and if you show your worth and help them with something, then you'll kind of get a sense. Hopefully you'll get a sense. Hopefully you have that sensibility. But the timing will be right. And then you can say, hey, I'm trying to make a movie. I have a script. Do you want to read it? You know, and when that moment
build
happens,
a relationship a little
build a relationship. And how do you build a relationship is showing up, you know, and doing good work. And I mean, going early, staying late. And it sounds like it sucks. It might not take as long as some people say. Some people say it takes years to build that. I've been able to build that relationship in a few months with people just because I showed up, I helped them out, and I put in the extra effort, and then eventually, sometimes I even get asked, "What are you working on? Like, what are you trying to do?" And then have that pitch ready to be fast and not
Right.
waterboard somebody with a 30-minute pitch that doesn't make any sense, you know?
So to fast forward a bit, how did you? One of the things, again, we do mostly horror here.
Yeah.
So you have a track record of horror,
Yes.
but your largest horror movie that you worked on was Terrifier 2. Is that accurate?
Technically, I mean, if you call Split a horror movie, Shyamalan Split, that was just
Oh, yeah.
really bigger. But that was just like I did like
So
some.
I didn't know that you worked on Split.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
was
awesome.
cool. It was.
I
It
would
was
consider
Split.
I would consider it horror-ish.
Yeah. So that I did some VFX work on that. But that was all Daly's visual effects work. So that was Mr. Shyamalan would like to see what it looks like when there's something on the screen now today. Can you please put that on? I would do that. And just kidding. No one approached me like that. Everyone there was very down to earth. And I was doing that, and I was backing up the movie overnight, which I didn't know how to do.
Oh, wow.
And I got like a 5-minute education on it, and I was hired to do it. And that was the scariest job I ever had because they're like, "Here's like $2 million. Back this up."
Right.
And then I'm
Yeah.
backing it up on these things called LTO tapes, which are almost like VHSs, just like Betamax kind of, and they hold information like 2 terabytes of information, and they don't hard drives die after 10 years supposedly. They don't do that. They last like 40 years or something like
Oh,
that.
so these things are super expensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so I'm backing them up, and then like a tape starts flying out of the front. Like it was like a nightmare. But it was just like
It was like the beginning to a Muppets Human Centipede.
yes, the very beginning of the
Just like, whoa, the hands all flopping in the air.
Pretty much that was like every day. If only they knew, because everybody left and they're like, let's just leave this guy here. And I would just set it up, and then I would push a button, and it's like, all right, I got 4 hours.
What do I do?
What can I do? And then I ate a lot of snacks and slept. It was cool. Or if they had a daily visual effect, I would do that, but that wasn't as often as I would have liked. But so I worked on Split, kind of, but not really. I was basically like an overnight security guard on Split, if you really think about it, and like night at the museum
In the safest neighborhood.
No, not at all. The neighborhoods, no. The studio was in Philly for 4 months of it, and then in Chester, PA for the other few months, and those are both pretty rough neighborhoods, if we're being real.
I've never been to Chester. I've been to Philly a lot.
Chester is scary. But so
shout out to the people in Chester.
Yeah.
It just zoomed out.
None of them are watching this. No, but Split was probably the actual biggest, but they forgot to give me credit. So it doesn't count. Terrifier 2, I was the most active on. I was visual effects supervisor for post, and I did 99% of the visual effects. Damien did one, and his buddy Jason Milstein did a couple others. And the one that Damien did just irks me because I can see it. Sorry, Damien.
What got you into how did you get into working for Terrifier for that?
So for Terrifier, and I tell people this because they're like, how do you get these jobs? I tell people, hey, I worked on this, and this. I like what you did. I think we could work well together. If you need help, please hit me up. Don't forget about me. And it works. So I have some friends that work with the Fuzz on the Lens guys. And Fuzz on the Lens produced Terrifier 1, and I had seen Terrifier 1, and I was like, oh, this is neat. This is pretty cool. And I had a sense, I started seeing Art the Clown like everywhere. And this is before Terrifier 2 came out. And I'm just like in the depths of the horror Instagram, and like I started to put the puzzle pieces together myself. I'm like, Terrifier 2 might be something I want to help with, and it's local. I love East Coast filmmakers. I love especially Northeast filmmakers. Are you kidding me? We're gonna argue who has the best pizza. I'm all in, you know. And so I was like, all right, so this horror movie that's made by a bunch of Northeast Italian, Staten Island, and Jersey guys is right in my backyard. Let me offer. I don't even know if they used really visual effects in the first one. Let me offer that to them in the second one because I think I can help with enhance some things.
Right.
And so I reached out to Damien. I was like, dude, we have a lot of friends in the same circles. I would love to work on 2. If you need any visual effects at all, just please let me know. I'll work something out. I'll give you a great rate. I've worked on Hatchet and blah, 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 blah. I don't have a reel, but here's a couple kills I did or something like that. And Damien's like, absolutely. And then, next thing I know, I'm working on Terrifier 2. I did the same thing with 2 music videos I directed. I was like, guys, you're going to be in Jersey. If you need a music video for any of the new songs on your album, let's film something while you're in Jersey, and then I'll make you a badass music video. And it works. Just reaching out to people and just saying, I can offer you this. I have some merit. I know what I'm doing. If you don't know what you're doing, maybe don't overextend yourself and don't take that chance because you have the opportunity to make a fool of yourself. I mean, it's okay a little bit, definitely, but like, don't really bite off more than you can chew because then you're just gonna ruin your reputation. But I was confident that I could do these things, and I reached out and just asked and just said, "Hey, I'll do this. I'll give you a good rate. I'm done kind of working for free." But it just I just stemming off of that one video on that PSP brought me to a point where I can, you always have to hustle. I truly believe that there's no point where you're not going to have to hustle. And if you're not ready for that, consider a different industry or trade. But I'm at a point now where I have the credits and I have examples that I can use to say, hey, I think I'm worthy of this job. I'd love to work with you, toss it.
Yeah, you don't have to fill in parts of your reel with you dancing in front of a green screen.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't dance, then no one would hire me. Jordan, my friend, he can dance, so there's that too. If it's I dance like Elaine from Seinfeld. It's terrible.
So,
but
what was your the most challenging effect to pull off in Terrifier?
Easily, without a doubt, there's a scene in Abracadabra, the effect or the effect shop, the costume shop, where the clerk is played by a guy named Jonathan Davis, which I think is hysterical. He gets his head cut off.
Not from Korn.
No, but we can talk about Jonathan Davis from Korn and the stuff I'm working on with him a little bit.
We'll definitely have to. Yeah.
But he gets his head cut off with a cleaver, and Damien wanted it all in one take. And what happens is the character's head's laying down on the ground, and the cleaver goes into his forehead, and then Art the Clown sticks his finger in the forehead to kind of like be able to manipulate the head as he's cutting through the neck, and he takes several hacks through the neck, and he picks the head up off the ground. So they had a dummy, okay, and they had Jonathan like kind of tilt his head as a plate a little bit, and normally what I would do is be able to map the face to the dummy, and then we're done.
Right.
Well, it was a very long shot, and through part of the shot, the dummy's head warped. Because it's foam, so there's no skull. It's not gonna, on impact or on pressure from Art pushing down on it, it might warp a little bit and deform. And then it also comes up off the ground, and you see the other side of his face a little bit. And
a part that you didn't have
we didn't have the plate for it. And what sucks is normally I would be like, oh well, faces are kind of mostly symmetrical. I can just take the other side of his face and work something out. Well, the other side of his face just had a bottle shoved through it and has this big wound on there, so it's not symmetrical at all. Shot was very challenging from beginning to end, trying to get that done. We got so many pieces of it that looked good, and then there was just some that would have been passable in most movies. But Damien and myself were both very meticulous, and we were just like, it's not something's not right. And I reached out to some other people. I reached out to people that work on Hatchet. I reached out to a friend of mine at Industrial Light and Magic.
Wow.
And he was like, that shot would cost $14,000 for us to do, because of the elements that you're missing and the amount of work that we would have to do. We'd have to do a 3D sculpt. We'd have to all this crazy stuff. And then so Damien and I talked a little bit, and I think I don't remember if it was Damien's idea or my idea or like something mutual. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. But Damien ended up editing it so that the cleaver gets its own little cut, and there's a cut, I think, of Art raising the cleaver, and they're like seconds, not even seconds. They're like half-second clips that kind of break it up. And that saved that shot 100%. And I think it looks really cool now. But that was the hardest shot. I put like over 100 and some odd hours into one shot, just because it's on screen so long, and it's up close. Like, it is a close up. And we know this is we didn't know how long it was going to be in theaters, but we know this is getting a theatrical release at some point. So it's going to be 30 feet on a screen of this guy's head. So that shot had to be pixel perfect.
Right.
And
right.
And it was just one of those things where you just don't anticipate it, and then you don't have the tool to fix it. So how do you fix it? Well, now it's problem solving. So
right, you gotta get creative with it.
Yeah, so that was the hardest shot, easily.
So what effect did, and you don't have to answer, but what effect did Damien do that irks you, and how would you have done it different?
Damien did it. I don't want to shit on Damien, because he is a genius. He is an absolute genius, and the stuff he comes up with for kills are just we really
Super
share this. It's very clever, and we share the same love of like how he's doing that. But I think there's like a screen replacement or two that I think Damien did. I don't want to knock anybody who did it, but I'm very particular about screen replacement. I hate it when I see it on TV and it's done bad. I hate it in movies, and I can see it every time. And it's just missing.
It's like something about angles or something. I don't know.
There's angles. There's just some things that you gotta really know. It's visual effects are all reference based, right? So you really have to pay attention to what you're looking at. If you look at your monitors right now, you probably have like a little bit of a black gap between the screen and the edge that people forget about. That changes. That can change the shape, of your screen replacement. There's a million reflections going on. If you just focus your eyes for a second looking at your monitor, you'll see stuff behind you if your room's lit in any way.
You weren't even expecting. I'm looking at and doing it right now, and now it's bothering me.
There might be a little bit of glow on some edges of your monitor, but not all of them, that bleed over the frame. There's a lot of things, and there's the way like pixelation works and is picked up on camera. You want everything to look like the camera is actually filming it, so you have to add all those imperfections. I add dust and fingerprints and like sometimes like water droplets to like every screen. Definitely dust. No one dusts anymore, apparently. Just those little imperfections make it seem like, okay, that's really there. When you don't have that, and it's just like
it's too crystal clear.
Yeah, it's too bright or too crystal clear. Light washes things out. I see that with like people will add buttons to things, like light up buttons, and they're like super bright and saturated, and it's daylight, and it's like, guys, this would be like almost not visible. Like, you really have to tone it down like 90% and desaturate the hell out of it. And
it's like they're doing it just to show that they've done it, as opposed to doing it so it's realistic.
Well, I think it's working without reference too. Like really, if you really want to know what things look like, you have to kind of try it out. If I don't have a reference here, I have to obtain one. Like if I'm like, this lighting's weird. I don't know how these buttons would work in this lighting. These glow in the dark buttons. How bright would they be? Then I have to figure out a way to try it with my own camera or try it with even my cell phone or something. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what the halation looks like around this light. This is what. Oh, you know what? My lens is dirty and it's doing this instead of this. Maybe I should add that in there. I don't think people. I think people are worried about getting things done. They don't reference reality and reference what things look like through camera.
So-
Wow, people are
so-
falling asleep.
So then, how do you
No,
get
they're not.
how do you get the reference of hitting someone in the head with an axe?
Okay, so this is
Good
where
point.
things can get a little messy and not cool, and I don't recommend that anybody do this. But when I worked for Rob Hall, we did, we were working on stuff like Teen Wolf. We worked on some other movies like with werewolf attacks and stuff like that. Rob would get real references from like, there's no such thing as a werewolf eating a person, but there are plenty of references of bears eating people.
Oh, so you got to watch some gruesome, gory stuff.
Dang.
I mean, it only makes sense if you want to make something look gruesome and gory.
Mostly aftermath pictures and reverse engineer that. It wasn't like really watching someone getting eaten by a bear. I mean, is like watching the aftermath of, or looking
Right.
at like photos of the aftermath, or stuff like that. And that's, I mean, for everything out there, there is a reference, whether you want to go down that hill or not. To me, for
Right.
anatomy, I look at a lot of surgical videos and then reverse engineer it from there, because it's not as it's not as macabre. I don't like looking at like real gore stuff. When I was younger, I was like, yeah, but like now,
Yeah,
I'm like,
faces of death videos.
yeah, right, stuff like that. But so that's really where you get reference, and then there's other things like that are hard to get reference for. Like, how do you get references to magic? Well, you
Right.
don't, because it's not real. Sorry, Harry Potter fans. But you could watch, you go with the director, and Damien's like, yo, I'm thinking Conan the Barbarian. I'm like, all right, I know exactly what you want. Like you reference other movies and you reference
Right.
stuff, stuff like that, or you
Work other
reference things in
people.
nature, like so.
So and I think the last time we spoke, you said that there were a couple times where maybe something you were trying to do something realistically, but it actually looked better not being realistic, right? You
Yeah.
were saying there's some instances where it's like, yeah, it doesn't look as good on film, if I just made it look realistic, it's going to look kind of boring.
Yeah. So there's shots like that. Like there's been a couple movies where I've done like effects, and I'm like, we talk, and they're like, I want it to look as real as possible, and it's I have to give them the disclaimer. Well, real doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Look,
Like
right.
if someone stabs you and doesn't pull the knife out, you might not bleed around the knife. It might
Right.
just be a knife sticking out of you like a splinter.
Right.
And you don't
Until
bleed
they
until they pull it out. So how
Right.
do you want that stab and the blood to run down? Because that's not realistic, but we can make it look cool.
Right.
Someone as morbid as this is, someone shooting themselves in the head, the wound might not be explosive on the entry wound, and it might not even have an exit wound depending on the caliber of pistol that they're using.
Right.
But if they're using like a 22 or something like that, then it might
It's not gonna
you might not have an exit wound, but it might bounce around. You might have a cavity, like the nasal cavity might release just nothing but blood. So you might have this person pouring blood out of their nose and falling over. That's not what we see in movies. So
right.
when people
You see it
want
in a movie and
reality,
it's like the whole head's gone.
yeah, the whole head's gone. And like, what's
Yeah.
cooler? What do you actually want to see? I like
Right.
the when things are a little over the top and fantastical.
It's like a miniature explosion. It's like a miniature Michael Bay film.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like-
Like when it's like that scene in Last Action Hero where the villain like is shooting into the taxi, like or no, it might be Arnold. Someone's shooting into the back of a taxi, and it's just like bullet holes going into the gas tank, and nothing's igniting. It's just like literally
nothing's
like metal.
exploding.
He's like, I don't understand, like He's like,
It's
"Arnold,
supposed to
you're the
explode."
real-" Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the
Doesn't
real
work
Arnold.
that way.
That's it.
You just murdered that guy.
Yeah.
He's like, he'll never bother you again. He's dead.
He's dead.
You killed that man.
Now-
Poor kids getting all traumatized just with all the realistic stuff.
Now, before we start wrapping up, because we're getting a little close on time, I want to talk about, which we talked about a little bit on the first time we recorded
The
this.
missing episode.
Was on our lost file episode of the podcast. You were talking about a film that you were working on yourself about the Devil's Tree.
Yeah, the Devil's
That's
Tree.
right.
Have you
in
worked on that
Burnsville.
anymore or anything like that? Or-
Yes, actually, quite a bit. I had made this movie like 10 years ago. We did a Kickstarter, and I some of the team that was brought on, I wasn't really content with, and by that I mean I didn't like them from the first time I met them. I get along with everybody, so
Right.
if I'm not getting along with somebody, there's usually a good reason for it. And this person tried to take over the film. I expressed, hey, I don't want this guy to work on this film. I was pushed into, encouraged, like, hey, he knows more than you. Just let him do his thing. And it ended up with something that I tried to fix for years. And I would spend like almost like a full-time job's worth of hours a week trying to repair this thing that it took me a long time to realize it was beyond repair. And I had a vision and it was just trashed, and I didn't feel comfortable putting out what we had filmed because I think it punched down with some of the humor. I think it was mean spirited in ways. I like mean spirited stuff in horror, don't get me wrong, but it was mean spirited in ways that just it didn't sell it. Like it didn't, like it was just, you wouldn't watch it and be like, this character is a terrible character, I hope they die. You would watch it and be like, this filmmaker is a terrible
Is an
filmmaker,
ass.
I hope they die. Yeah. So and it wasn't necessarily, I definitely take responsibility for not sticking up for myself and not like being more vocal and putting my foot down. But we were in a situation where it was like, if this person had the ball, and if they went home, then the game would be over for everybody.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see, I didn't know until afterwards that it wasn't fixable. I thought on set, like maybe if I, after every take, I say like, well, let's get it like this because just for me, please, that it might work. And it just didn't work. And so I since then, I have met other filmmakers. I've learned so much since then, and I have a better script, and I would like to make something similar, if not remake it. But we'll see. We'll see if it's going to be a spin-off and something completely new. Either way, it's something completely new. I'm not going to remake the movie
Right.
that I made before. That's just not going to happen. It's not in the cards. I don't want it to be. And so, yeah, the film's called The Devil's Tree. Jonathan Davis from Korn plays a villain, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's definitely a horror comedy. The horror is emphasized as being horrific. The horror is not going to be, the gore and stuff is going to be gruesome.
Gnarly. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cookie with super dark chocolate on there. Like it's finding that line that where like you can have something dark and gnarly that complements the humor is hard. So you kind of have to really go hard into the paint in both directions. So the humor
Right.
is very much like It's Always Sunny, like that kind of dark humor, and the horror is like Devil's Rejects or Martyrs or
Oh, yeah.
mixed with like kind of like like Terrifier a little bit. It's funny because the first time around, I don't want to give too much away, but there's almost shot for shot a scene in my film that we filmed in like 2013 in Terrifier 2. And it was before I didn't know about it until I actually saw the movie Terrifier 2. And I was like, Damien, I did the same exact thing. And it's so crazy. Like, it's not like, oh, someone got killed with a knife. It's like an absurd kill. It's not the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2, but it's another kill or series of kills. Like, it's just so insane that we both thought of this way to kill people separately 10 years apart. Yeah. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm working on that. I have another movie that I'm really passionate about that I'm trying to hopefully film by the end of this year or next year. And I have.
If you need folks to help you out, I'm just saying that this face right here is Hollywood ready. Dude.
Let's do it. Let's kill you.
And
I'm going to
this
need
right here is ready
this
to
one
cast.
film that I'm currently pitching and stuff like right now. I'm going to need a lot of cadavers, a lot of dead bodies.
Dude, I can be a cadaver.
Do it. Let's do it.
All I have to do is lay there?
Yeah. That's it. Just lay there. And you don't even have to lay there the whole time. You just have to lay there until I have either a 3D scan of you or a shot, and then the rest is all gore.
Dude,
like the rest is a dummy.
That would be so awesome.
Let's do it. I'm 100% down. It's happening. Yeah. It's consider this a, I don't know how much I can pay you, but we'll do it.
That's okay.
Zero, as long as you allow me to wear a shirt that has, and I'll make the design, but it has the Muppets Human Centipede.
Okay, but it has to be very subtle because this other movie takes itself very seriously, and it can't. What Why don't we just kill you in Devil's Tree and you can wear? We'll kill you in 2 movies. We'll kill you in Devil's Tree, and you can just inside out though. That one you can just wear 100% a Muppets, like as blatant as possible.
Yeah,
as
Kermit, Gonzo, Miss Piggy.
Yeah, there you go. Kermit,
and only people that watch
Gonzo
the Trick or
has
Trio.
to be in the front, right? Or
yeah, I don't know how you.
Time. Well,
I don't know how you'd be.
The nose would be a huge problem for Miss Piggy or whoever's in front of him.
I was going to say, yeah,
if he's in the
being in the middle would be the worst time.
Being in the middle is the worst time, but with Gonzo's nose, if you're in the front, you're having a worse time than you would normally if you had like Kermit.
Yes,
because that nose is going somewhere.
It's going right up in it.
Right up in it. Well, no, wait, the mouth is sewn.
It wouldn't.
So it's just kind of like
just rest on your back.
So it has to be Gonzo then, because it would probably be bending his nose backwards. I don't know. Does he have bones
towards
the nose?
I don't know.
What's the anatomy? What is Muppet anatomy?
I'm just switching it to Fozzie.
I need a copy of Jim Henson's Anatomy, a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy that shows where the bones of the puppets are. And the muscles.
In the Kermit arms, because I don't know if Kermit has bones in his arms the way he goes. Ah!
Yeah, there's no way. If you watch them riding bikes,
oh yeah,
which is a great visual effect, by the way.
I love it. It's clearly just like loose fabric and the feet sewn to the pedal, and the pedals are moving.
Do you know how they did? Yeah, but you see the bikes separately. At first, I thought they were being pulled by a cart, which some of them are. Some of them are being pulled by other bikes. So when they show the group of the Muppets together, some of those Muppets are people in costume, and their bike is leading like 10 other Muppet bikes. But the way they did Kermit and Miss Piggy is they had a giant crane, and it was like marionettes. They were marionetting Kermit and Miss Piggy, and they weren't touching the ground, which is insane. They had to keep the bikes just because they wouldn't be able to drag it. It would like pull strings back if they were moving along the ground. So they had to leave like that much space off the ground
to give the impression like it's on it.
Yes, it's so cool.
Genius, dude. Yeah.
Visual effects, baby. That's it.
Yeah, right.
Visual effects. But yeah, we'll kill you in Devil's Tree. That's cool. You can wear a Muppet Centipede shirt. I'm down. I like it. I wish we could find that path to that conversation again.
Right.
Because I feel like this time I just wanted
it doesn't hit the same way that it did last time.
No.
Yeah, I don't remember what caused us to start talking about. Oh, you know what it was? Is that we were talking about how they came out with the Grinch movie, and they came out
that's
with
right.
the Blood and
Winnie the
Honey
Pooh.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were talking
And
about
Steamboat
how we're
Willie.
taking childhood, Steamboat Willie. We're talking about how they're taking childhood things and turning it horror, and they came up with
Yeah.
the Muppet Human Centipede.
Yes.
All right.
This is
I think on
good.
that note, I think it's time to end this episode. Thank you all for listening, watching, wherever you're on. Is there any last thing you guys would like to add?
Yeah, I would like to pitch the 4 movies that I have in theaters this year. I'm very excited about that.
Please do.
Yeah,
Hell
go
yeah.
for it. Anything.
So everyone should see Terrifier 3. Everyone should see Stream, which comes out in August, which is made by Fuzz on the Lens and has your crush Daniel Harris alongside like the cast is insane. I can't say everyone that's in it because it's a surprise, but it is a all-star roster. It's pretty sick. Go see the 4:30 movie, Kevin Smith's new film, which I associate produced. That's like Kevin Smith's Goonies. It's awesome. It's honestly probably one of my favorite films that he's done. And that's
wow.
taking out me being biased. I just think it's from the heart 100%. It's based on his life, like part of his life, and it's a lot of fun. It's very funny. And there's one other one that I can't think of right now. Wait, Terrifier.
Don't
Stream.
say that. They're gonna be like, hey, man.
Yeah, no, I know. Terrifier, Stream, Kevin Smith. What's the other? Oh, Shelby Oaks. It's like the biggest one. I'm sorry. Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan produced that one, directed by Chris Stuckman. And that movie is super unique, and that's gonna blow minds. It's really, really cool. I was visual effects supervisor on that. I worked as an artist for a lot of shots. I helped set up and produce a lot of various things on that movie. I ended up kind of not very amicably parting ways because I saw things as a little different for some of the visual effects. But I mean, I'm really excited for that movie to come out and for everyone to see it because it looks awesome. It just did it. It just did it with a giant clown face.
What the frick? Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
It's like
if
this
you're
guy's
listening,
cool.
if you're listening, you need to watch this episode.
Yeah, watch
Yes.
the episode. You can see Savannah's camera.
Don't
going all
tell
over
them
the
what
place.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Make them watch it. Yeah, then they can
So
see all
when
the
do
puzzling.
when do these films come out? Do you know? Oh my god, it's doing it again.
I think 4:30 movie's probably going to come out in July or August maybe. That's Kevin Smith's movie. Stream comes out in August. I think the date's August like 24th or 14th or something like that. I mean, Google's your friend. Terrifier is October 24th in theaters. And Shelby Oaks, I know it's premiering I think at Fantastic Fest very soon.
Yeah.
Or Fantasia Film Festival. I'm sorry, Fantasia Film Festival. That's way bigger. It's playing at Fantasia Film Festival, and then the theatrical release will be announced. But keep an eye out for the names of those because they're going to be. I'm proud that I got to even do anything on all of them. So it's really cool.
It was supposed to come out in December. They moved it up to October.
It originally was November, I think, and then it went to October, and then it was you know what? It was October 24th, and now it's October 11th. So they moved it up again. Yeah, that just finished filming like a month ago. And they're currently doing some editing and stuff like that, and
But way ahead of schedule, it seems.
Yeah, yes and no. I would hope they get to VFX soon because really, after VFX, you have sound. You have to do sound afterwards because if we add something in VFX, they have to know to make a sound for that VFX, and then and color correction as well. So and then mastering all the sound and the music and stuff like that. So it's probably right on time if you really think about it because we're about to hit June. So you have basically June, July, August, and it would have to be done by that point and finalized before going. You need a spacer. You need a window of it being done and people watching it and being like, yes, this is the way it should be and all that. So
I'm super hyped for you said it's called 4:30.
4:30 movie. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited too, man. I saw. I was lucky enough. This will give you, and I know we're way over here, but this will give you the work ethic of Kevin Smith. We would film all day, and then Kevin would leave set, and he would start editing that day.
Oh,
So
wow.
by the time at the wrap party, they had the wrap party at Smodcastle Cinemas. They were able to show us a large portion of the film cut together by Kevin. That was like
Wow.
Kevin's gift to the cast or the crew, because a lot of times, we might not see each other ever again.
Right.
We might not see each other until the next film. We might, and whenever there's no guarantee that everyone's going to be able to make it to a premiere.
Right.
And some people, depending on the level that they're at, might not, they might not be invited to like an LA premiere or something like that.
Right,
It wouldn't be in the
right.
cards, reasonably so. So it was really nice that everybody together that was working on it, like literally film it early that day, was able to watch
That's crazy.
everything that most of what we had filmed so far. And listen, there's no like, sound effects or visual.
Right.
color
But still, I mean,
but it's a
to
rough
be able to do
time.
that, that's pretty. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty.
it's awesome. We're living in a really cool time, because you used to have to wait a couple days to get dailies back.
Right.
I mean, you would film and you're like, hope it looked good. Like you really had to be surrounded by people that knew what they were doing, because you're just taking a shot in the dark. And then just a couple days later, oh God, now we got to go back and film this again.
Right. Oh, it's all messed up.
Oh, missed it. Just make
Oh, damn, the lens cap was on.
the goddamn lens cap every time.
It's kind of like us when we saw the last podcast.
Yeah.
Like, oh crap, the lens cap was on the whole time.
The whole time.
I love that we're in this age where we don't know if it did a great job until we're completely done with it. Imagine doing a film that way. Like,
Yeah.
I got no idea if it's going to work until it's done.
Dude, all films were done that way. Oh man, I honestly, I will say this: I do a lot of podcasts, and I generally enjoy myself on all of them. This one, I always I'm like, we're out of time. Really, I could talk
I
to you guys
know.
like all day.
I think that we definitely need to like do more.
I
with
think-
you. It would be so much fun.
I think
Yeah.
me and Savannah have been
Look forward
talking about
to.
this a lot. Me and Savannah have been talking about this a lot, doing more in-person podcasts. Once he's up
Yeah.
here, next time he's up here, I think we got to get together in person and do an in-person podcast together. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Do like
that
a
would
part 2, but all together. Now,
Yeah.
on that note, we're gonna end it here. Stay
Burning
safe,
down the
everybody.
house.
Thank you for watching. We will have Josh again on another episode, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys later.
As the shadows lengthen and the moon casts an eerie glow, we bid you farewell. The night may be over, but the mysteries endure, waiting to be unraveled in the episodes that follow. Until then, embrace the darkness of the Trick or Trio.